So good evening, friends. Meeting after a gap of 2 days. So basically, today also it would have been a gap, but that's why I have preponed 2 days session. So I think there will be a few members who have not yet seen the message. Would not be. It is not possible for them to attend today's session, but still it will be uploaded on YouTube. So nothing to worry about that. On uh, on Saturday, we were discussing about the one important entity which Hahnemann wants to prove that why allopathy never works, and he has given a thorough explanation. There are three possible conditions which develops because of it. This happens. The first one, which we have discussed in our in earlier lecture, first one, that is when two dissimilar diseases meets inside the one human being. So when two natural dissimilar diseases meets inside one human being, if the older one is stronger, then it repels the action of new one to happen. So this is the first condition which we have discussed, and we have discussed the examples of it. We have taken the example of tuberculosis, and even Hahnemann have explained many examples in order to show that this is what happens in the nature. And if it is the truth that these things happens in the nature, then definitely whatever the proposition is there, that is always correct. And then he explains the first part of it. There are three conditions. The second, which we have to learn in today's session. So we have learned up to the aphorism number 36 in last lecture. We'll start with we have learned up to 36 and 37, the first condition. The second one, which he starts right from the aphorism number 38. So we'll go ahead with the aphorism number 38, what he says. Or the new dissimilar disease is stronger. In this case, the disease under which the patient originally labored, being the weaker, will be kept back and suspended by the accession of new one, the stronger one, until the latter shall have run its course or been cured, and then the old one reappears uncured. So this is the simple thing. The first thing, if the first disease which is already present is weaker than the new one which enters inside the body and which is dissimilar to its character, at that time, if this new one is stronger, it removes the weaker one temporarily. Word is very important. It suspends. Suspends means it temporarily reduces the uh, older one, and it runs its own course. It runs its whole course. And after running its course, when it finishes, then it disappears and the old one reappears. And this is the common thing which happens in day-to-day life. He has given multiple examples collected from the different allopathic journals in order to show the proof. This is what happens when two natural dissimilar diseases meets inside the one human being. And what he gives the examples, we'll just go through the examples. In the footnote, he has given just the from where he has collected all those examples. So there is no need to read all the footnotes over there. We just go through what he wants to say. So he has explained one example. First example, two children affected with a kind of epilepsy remained free from epileptic attacks after the infection with the ringworm, that is tinea. But as soon as the eruption on the head was gone, the epilepsy returned, just as before, as Tulipus observed. So these are the things which he tries to explain. He explains all those things. He takes the example from different journals and then explains that Tulpius, he has observed this, that when the patient was suffering earlier with epilepsy, and all of a sudden epilepsy stopped because he developed the ringworm. Because that ringworm was stronger, the epilepsy was remain hidden for a certain time. And as the eruptions of this fungus disappeared, then automatically the original disease reappeared. Second example, the itch of the scalp saw disappeared on the occurrence of scurvy, but after the cure of the latter, it again broke out. Second example. So there was the itch, the scabatic eruptions were there, and which disappeared when the scurvy came. Because as the scurvy was more stronger than the itch at that time, that itch was temporarily suspended. The scurvy runs its course, and when scurvy covered, the itch reappeared. So also the pulmonary thesis. Pulmonary thesis means pulmonary tuberculosis. So also the pulmonary thesis remained stationary when the patient was attacked by the violent typhus, but went on again after the latter had run its course. So he has given one more example that pulmonary thesis was there earlier, old disease. The typhus came. Typhus is a big terminology. It is not typhoid only. If you open your dictionary, you will find that typhus covers the many aspects about the fever. So it is big entity. And when this typhus comes, this original tuberculosis was temporarily suspended. Typhus runs its own course, and when it disappeared, the original thesis again reappeared. Third example of the same thing which he has explained, where the dissimilarity is there. So typhus is having its own symptoms, the tuberculosis is having its own symptoms. They are absolutely different. And if they are different, then definitely this second condition which you are going to commonly observe. If the mania occur in a consumptive patient, mania means it is madness. If the mania occur in consumptive means again a tuberculosis. So if the mania occur in consumptive patient, the thesis with all its symptoms is removed by the former. But if that go off, the thesis returns immediately and proves better. So if a patient who is suffering from the tuberculosis and all of a sudden the madness comes, the insanity comes, and that because of that insanity, because of stronger insanity, the original features of the thesis sometimes disappear. And when it disappeared, it remained stationary, the mania, and when mania disappeared, the original consumptive features again reappeared. Another example he gives over there, when measles and smallpox are prevalent at the same time, and both attack the same child, the measles that had already broken out is generally checked by the smallpox that came somewhat later. Nor does the measles resume its course until after the cure of the smallpox. But it not infrequently happens that inoculated smallpox is suspended for 4 days by the supervision of the measles as observed by Mangate, after the desquamation of which the smallpox uh, completes its course. So he gives different examples, and which are collected from the different books. So these are different observations made by the different allopaths. Those are not observations done by Hahnemann. These are collected from the different journals, different books, and he explains over there that this is what happens if the measles and smallpox is there, and if measles was already running, it stops its presentation. The smallpox runs its course, and when smallpox disappears, the measles again broke out. Another example. So multiple examples of this, what happens in the nature, he explains over there. We'll go through it fast because all those examples are nothing but the explanation of the same terminology or same proposition. Even when inoculation of the smallpox had taken effect for 6 days and the measles then broke out, the inflammation of the inoculation remained stationary, and the smallpox did not ensue until the measles had completed its regular course of 7 days. Of 7 days. So another example, that if you have inoculated the smallpox vaccine over there, and the eruption which has just reappeared and measles comes, that remains stationary, it never developed. And when measles disappeared, it developed to its full. In an epidemic of measles, that this is attacked by many individuals on the 4th or 5th day after the inoculation of smallpox, and prevented the development of the smallpox until it had completed its own course, whereupon the smallpox appeared and proceeded regularly to its termination. So one more example between the measles and smallpox. Here the measles is stronger than the smallpox. The true smooth erysipelatous looking scarlatina of Sydenham with the sore throat was checked on the 4th day By the eruption of the cowpox, which ran its regular course, and not till it was ended did the scarlatina again re-establish itself. But on another occasion, as both diseases seems to be of equal strength, cowpox was suspended on 8th day by supervision of the two smooth scarlatina of Sedenium, and red areola of the former disappeared until the scarlatina was gone, whereupon the cowpox immediately resumed its course and went on to its regular termination. So another example between cowpox and the scarlatina. It depends upon which is stronger. If the cowpox is stronger, it removes the scarlatina for time being. If scarlatina is stronger, if suspend the cowpox time for time being. So these are few more examples. The measles suspended the cowpox on the eighth day. When the cowpox had nearly attained its climax, the measles broke out. The cowpox now remained stationary and did not resume and complete its course until the desquamation of measles had taken place, so that on the 16th day it presented the appearance of it, otherwise would have shown on the 10th day, as Cortum observed. So one more example as explained by Cortum over there, related with the cowpox and the measles, and again depending upon the stronger appearance of the small measles, the cowpox temporarily remained suspended, and again when cowpox finished its course, the measles reappeared. And these are the examples collected by Hahnemann from different journals, and the all journals, even you just look in the footnote, he has given examples. He collected it from journal, then the Upland journal, so which were the very professional journals from where he has collected all those examples. One more example he explains over there. Even after the measles had broken out, the cowpox inoculation took effect, but did not run its course until the measles had disappeared, as Cortum likewise witnessed. So another example he has collected from the Cortum, and he explains over there that cowpox and the cowpox vaccination and the measles. And measles had, when measles came out, the cowpox vaccination, which was not yet inoculated completely, it remained stationary. The measles runs its course, finished its course, and cowpox again that inoculation takes place. I myself saw the mumps, angina parotidia, immediately disappear when the cowpox inoculation had taken effect and had nearly attained its height. It was not until the complete termination of the cowpox and disappearance of its radiolula that this febrile tumefaction of the parotid and submaxillary glands that is caused by peculiar miasm reappeared and ran its course of 7 days. So one more examples of the mumps and cowpox inoculation he has explained over there, and that was his own example which he explained over there. So these are different examples what happens when two natural dissimilar diseases meets inside one human being. So ultimately, to conclude this aphorism, the paragraph which he mentioned over there explains what exactly happens. So, and thus it is with all dissimilar diseases, the stronger suspend the weaker one when they do not complicate one another, which is seldom the case with acute diseases, but they never cure one another. So last sentence is very important. They never cure one another. So what happens? The stronger one suspends weaker one temporarily. It depends upon who is stronger. It is not fixed that measles is stronger than smallpox or smallpox is stronger than. It depends upon the strength of the disease at that specific time. But last point which he has highlighted over there, that it never cures one another, and this is very important one has to understand. So first condition we have understood that if older one is stronger, it repels the action of new one and it never allows the new one to enter. But if older one is weaker, the stronger one runs its course, suspends the weaker one time being, and when it finishes its course, the older one reappears. And this is what we used to find it out in day-to-day practice when allopathy is used, because again there is a alloys, means dissimilarity between the patient's complaints and the action of the medicine. So you observe that patient suffering from rheumatoid arthritis taking the analgesics. What happens? Till he's continuing the analgesics, he is free from symptoms. And when the effect of the analgesics disappears, the original symptoms reappear. So this is common example. Same is true with any chronic disease. If you take example of the another one, that is the epilepsy. Patient is on anti-epileptic, patient is taking anti-epileptics and he feels better. And as soon as you stop giving anti-epileptics, the action gets vanished, the original disease reappears. The third example is common, which you very often observe, is the um, breathlessness or asthma, better temporarily by the inhalers. Patient takes the one puff of inhaler, it works for time being. As the action disappears, the original disease reappears. And this is very common. And this is what the allopathic method is. It never cures any chronic disease at all. It only palliates, and that palliative effect is because of this. This is the proof because when two dissimilar diseases meets inside one human being, the stronger one suspends the weaker one temporarily. And this is what we used to observe in allopathic treatment. So now he compares in 39 aphorism, he compares it with allopathy. And let us go with that. Now the adherents of the ordinary school of medicine saw all this for so many centuries. They saw that nature herself cannot cure any disease by the accession of another, be it ever so strong, if the new disease be dissimilar to that already present in the body. What shall we think of them that they nevertheless went on treating chronic diseases with allopathic remedies, namely the medicines and prescription capable of producing God knows what morbid state. Very important word which he has used. The God knows what morbid state. Almost invariably, however, one dissimilar to disease to be cured. And this is what we have just seen. The every allopathic medicine, it doesn't have any correlation between the patient's symptoms. So patient symptoms are absolutely different, and the medicine which is prescribed is having absolutely different action. And because of this dissimilarity, it temporarily palliates the original disease, because as the drugs are given in larger doses, and because of which they are stronger than the natural disease. And even though physician did not iterate to observe nature attentively, the miserable results of their treatment should have taught them that they were pursuing an inappropriate, a false path. Did they not perceive when they employed, as was their custom, an aggressive allopathic treatment in a chronic disease, that thereby they only created an artificial disease dissimilar to the original one, which, as long as it was kept up, merely held in abeyance, merely suppressed, merely suspended the original disease, which latter, however, always returned and must return as soon as the diminished strength of the patient no longer admitted of continuance of the allopathic attacks on the life. So this is what we used to observe. So any disorder, chronic disorder, and you give the allopathic medicines, patient temporarily feels better. The palliation is there because of the allopathic medicine, which is stronger than the natural disease, it suspends the natural disease for time. As soon as the action of the medicine disappears, the original disease reappears. Thus, the each exanthema certainly disappears very soon from the skin under the employment of violent purgatives, frequently repeated. But when the patient can no longer stand the factitious, that means dissimilar disease of the bowels, and can take no more purgative, then either the cutaneous eruption breaks out as before, or the internal sora displays itself in some bad symptom, and the patient, in addition to his undiminished original disease, has to endure the misery of the painful ruined digestion and impaired strength to boot. So he has given one more example, and this is quite common. You observe, you go to skin OPDs, patient is having eczema, and what do they prescribe? They prescribe the local ointments, the steroid ointments. They prescribe clobetasol, and under the action of that clobetasol ointment, the eczema vanished. Patient feels he has cured, but he has not cured. What happens? It temporarily gets suspended after the action of that local ointment. And when he stops applying the ointments, after some days, it reappears again. So this is the second condition which you used to find it out very often. So also, when the ordinary physician keeps up artificial ulcerations of the skin and issues on the exterior of the body, with the view of thereby eradicating chronic disease, when they can never attain their object by so doing, they can never cure them by that means. As such, artificial fitness ulcers are quite aligned and allopathic to the internal affection, but in as much as irritation produced by several tissues is at least sometimes stronger dissimilar disease than the indwelling malady. The latter is thereby sometimes silenced and suspended for a week or two. So there was one more thing which was prevalent during Hahnemannian time, that taking the cuts on the body or producing the ulcers on the body. So patient's complaints are different. Patient was having acid peptic trouble, he was having retrosternal burning or something else, and he was advised to take the cuts on the body or some produce some ulcers on the body. So what happens when he produced ulcers on the body? If it is very painful burning, the automatically the original internal features was temporarily hidden, suspended, and as it heals, the original features reappear. This is quite common because it this new disease temporarily suspends the old one, but it is only suspended, and that for a very short time, while the patient powers are gradually worn out. Epilepsy suppressed for many years by means of issues, invariably recurred and in an aggravated form when they were allowed to heal up, as Pechlin and others testify. So one more example he has given, that because of, if the patient was suffering from the epilepsy and he has applied the treatment of issues, which was very common during Hahnemannian time, they used to produce discharges on the body. They used to take some, apply some threads over their body on the body as a foreign body, and because of which applying those threads, the body starts fighting against that foreign body. There was a discharge from them. Until that period, because of that, sometimes the epileptic attacks used to remain stationary without any attack. And when it disappears, when that discharge stopped and it healed, the original features of epilepsy used to come again. But the purgatives for each and issues for the epilepsy cannot be more heterogeneous, more dissimilar deranging agents, cannot be more allopathic, more exhausting modes of treatment than are customary prescriptions, composed of unknown ingredients, used in ordinary practice for other nameless, innumerable forms of disease. These likewise do nothing but debilitate and only suppress or suspend the malady for a short time without being able to cure it, and when used for a long time, always add a new morbid state to the old disease. So now he turns towards the last point. What he says? If you go on doing, or if you are applying such a thing, it will temporarily palliate the thing. If the patient's strength is good, he is, for time being, he will be settled and reproduce the same symptoms in a greater strength. So this is common. This is very common, in fact, in allopathic practice. And whole allopathic treatment regarding the chronic diseases based upon these concepts of just suspending the original disease by strong medicine. And this happens only because in the nature only, this is the second law which gets applied over there, that when two dissimilar diseases meets inside one human being, the stronger one removes the weaker one temporarily. So this is second condition which we have discussed today. Yesterday, in last lecture, we have discussed first condition, that if the original disease is stronger, it repels the new one to enter. Now we have to learn the third one, which we will going to learn in next lecture. That is again very common nowadays, because nowadays there are many mixed miasmatic diseases which have developed because long continued use of the strong heroic medicines which are used over there. Specifically during the COVID-19, we have seen such a thing, and now patients are coming to you with mixed miasmatic traits, with iatrogenic diseases, with avascular necrosis of femoral head, with nephrotic problems. All those complications have been developed a lot after COVID, and that is related with the third condition, that is when two dissimilar diseases of the equal strength appears inside one human being, what happens? But that condition will keep it as it is. We'll learn it in tomorrow's session, and then we'll continue with understanding about the allopathic examples. So today we have learned second condition, and we'll stop over here. I have a appointment, so I could not have a time to discuss things with you today. But from tomorrow we'll be again with our same time, most probably. So thanks a lot to all of you who have attended in today's session, and whatever maybe the queries are there, put it with yourself. We'll discuss in tomorrow's session. Okay. Is there any query, Ali?
Right, sir. Thank you. Sir, one short query. Sir, a patient of mine having eczema on his scalp, you prescribed mesodymium, sorry, sir. And then after that, sir, you prescribe Vinca minor for 5 days only, sir.
Vinca,
sorry, sir.
Vinca minor.
Yes, sir, for 5 days. सर 5 दिन यूज करने के बाद उसको फायदा तो हुआ, लेकिन उसके 1 हफ्ते बाद ईचिंग दोबारा से उसको बढ़ गई, और वो चिप ऑफ, मतलब वो ड्राई होके निकलते हैं, अगेन चिप ऑफ होते हैं, फिर उसके साथ साथ ना हेयर फॉल साथ साथ उस बच्चे के हो रहे हैं.
Repeat the Vinca minor again, 3 more doses, and wait for some time. And if
Right,
it
sir.
works, it's okay. Otherwise, increase the potency.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Is there any other query? So we'll have tomorrow's session, and whatever may be the query, we'll discuss in tomorrow's session. Thank you. Thanks a lot.